Hi and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be doing my reaction to the Erik ten Hag and Gary Neville interview, which basically dropped today on Sky Sports on YouTube. The thing is, it's not how I had planned to go about my Friday today. I thought I was going to do a video on Jadon Sancho, but when I was checking the TL in the afternoon on Twitter, I just saw the comments basically going off about this interview between Neville and Ten Hag. So I just thought to myself, you know what? Let me put the Sancho video off. I'll probably do it maybe later tonight, but I'll probably drop that tomorrow. So I'm gonna give this attention. I'm gonna give it preference. And yeah. Anyways, let's get started. The interview between Neville and Ten Hag was quite long. I think it was about half an hour long, and I actually had to note down a few questions and responses from Ten Hag and Neville. So yeah, I'm gonna have to read some of them out because I just wanted to be able to remember everything, which I felt was important. So basically, the first question which Neville asked Ten Hag was that it's been 2 years since they last did an interview. Neville was obviously referring to the time in which Ten Hag joined the club about 2 years ago, and they did the interview of him welcoming him to the club, and all of that. And Neville basically asked Ten Hag how it's been and whether it's gone according to how he had planned for it to go. And what Ten Hag basically said was no, to be honest. Last season was a great season. We finished third. We reached two cup finals, being the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. We had great nights like the night against Barca in the new camp. We did well last season. It was quite reasonable for a first season for a manager. It was quite good. But then he went on to say that this season has not been good enough. It's been quite poor, but to be fair to him, he feels there were other contributing factors as to why this season hasn't been good enough. He also hinted at the fact that, in fact, he didn't hint, he actually stated it that last season we were apparently looking at Harry Kane. He was our main striker target, but I think United quickly realized that it was going to be difficult to get him from Spurs, so they had to move on and look for another number 9 because they felt they needed an attacker due to basically us not having a number 9, But what I don't get about that comment from him is, how have we gone from looking for Harry Kane and then we end up with Rasmus Højlund? These are two completely different profiles. Maybe the height, that's the only thing that I can see they have in common, because for me, Harry Kane is a striker who is not necessarily the quickest. He likes the ball at feet. He can hit the long range passes, short passes, he can hold the play up, bring his teammates into the game. All of which are things that Rasmus Højlund can't do. Rasmus Højlund has no hold-up play. He's not clinical in front of goal. For obviously he's a left footer and Kane is a right footer. But basically what I'm trying to say is the profile of striker that we were looking at for in the summer is completely different from what we ended up signing. So how does that make sense? I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we saw him a few weeks ago on Neville's Overlap show, saying that apparently Man United scouts have got a dossier of millions of players that we've been looking at. So why not go through the dossier and try and find a player who would suit the profile which we're looking for in Harry Kane? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, we move, I guess. The next thing that Gary Neville asked Erik ten Hag was, at Utrecht, Erik ten Hag was a sporting director, and then whilst he was at Ajax, he was, rather at Bayern Munich, he worked with a proper recruitment structure and a proper behind-the-scenes structure, if you can call it, at Bayern Munich, even though he wasn't the first-team coach. And then also the same applied when he went to Ajax. He was working with people like Mark Overmars and other people who were responsible in the running of the club and recruitment and things like that. And all he had to do was focus on coaching. So what Neville said, that what did he feel was different from those 3 clubs to the way things happen at United, basically referring to the likes of Murto and Woodward being the ones in charge of transfers and things like that. And I mean, Ten Hag basically gave the typical answer. He said, we've got a good relationship with the people behind the scenes, like management and stuff, and I'm quite happy because they've backed me so far, which I quite agreed with Ten Hag, because If he had dared come out and said that United hadn't backed him, I would have said he's mad because he spent £400 million. Last season, he said he wanted Onana. He got Onana. He said he wanted Mason Mount as his main target for midfield. He said he wanted dynamic midfield. He got Mason Mount. Rasmus was a backup plan, but guess what? He got him as well. So he's definitely been backed in terms of transfer. We may not have gotten him his main targets, but we've definitely got him the players that he wanted, you know. In fact, I think the only main target that he's only missed out on, in fact, two. He's missed out on two main targets since he came to United, and that was Frankie de Jong in his first season and Harry Kane in his second season. But other than that, everyone else he's wanted, we've managed to give him. So at least he did say he was backed. Moving it on, Gary Neville then said that this week we've seen the likes of Jason Wilcox brought into the club to basically try and implement a playing model for the club, which won't be manager based, but basically that's the way in which the club want to play moving forward. You know, like for example, Barca, their style of play is not based on a manager. A manager, when he goes to Barca, he has to adapt to the way in which Barcelona play football, tiki-taka, possession-based football, you know. So he was basically asked that United have brought through James Wilcox to basically implement a style of play, if you will, and what were his thoughts on that. And for me, Ten Hag misunderstood that question. You know, maybe I do understand that English is not his first language, so I'll give him a pass for that. But for me, because his response told me that he did misunderstand, because he basically said that, no, if you look at United over the years, we've brought through young players, you know, which, yes, it's a tradition of Man United to bring through young players. So he basically said that we've brought through the likes of Garnacho, Kobe Mainu, and they're now starters in the team. So he felt we'll continue with the United way, if you will. But what I felt Gary Neville was trying to ask was, James Wilcox or Jason Wilcox has been brought on to implement a style of play in which will stay the same, regardless of which manager is managing the club, regardless of which player is injured, fit, or whatever. So basically, for example, if you look at Liverpool, the way they play, high press, fast, intense football, whether it's Quanta at the back, or whether it's Konate, whether it's Diaz on the left, whether it's Darwin Nunez, whether it's McAllister in the middle, or Endo, the style of play remains the same. That's what Gary Neville was trying to ask, from what I understood at least. But I thought Ten Hag sort of misunderstood that. But like I said, English is not Ten Hag's first language, so I do get it. So want to keep it moving. What else was he asked? Oh yeah, the next thing he was asked was, how have the meetings with Ineos gone so far? You know, and Ten Hag again basically gave a political answer, if I can be honest. I mean, he basically said that the meetings have gone well so far. You know, we've got an understanding, and they're looking to plan ahead together for the summer to look to bring in new players and things like that. But so far, so good. So I guess on that front, he answered as best as he could. What else was he asked? Yeah, now this one is my favorite, my personal favorite question, which Gary Neville asked Erik ten Hag. He basically said that, results aside, is Ten Hag happy with the style of play that Manchester United have had this season? In fact, for the past 2 seasons. And also, he asked a follow-up question. He said, a lot of people ask, what is Manchester United's style of play? What is Manchester United's identity under Erik ten Hag? Neville asked Ten Hag if that question irritates Ten Hag, and Ten Hag said that he wouldn't say he feels irritated or frustrated, but rather he feels that Man United want to play better football than they did last season. In fact, they want to play dynamic football, high press on the front foot, and hence during last summer we brought in the likes of Andre Onana to help us start improve on our build-up play. We brought in a dynamic midfielder like Mason Mount, and we also brought in a goal scorer like Rasmus Højlund. Like, I don't understand. How is Mason Mount dynamic? I haven't seen any of his dynamism since we signed him. As for, we needed a goal scorer in Rasmus Højlund. We signed this guy with 9 goals for Atalanta all season, and yet we went and paid £72 million. All because Ten Hag wanted him. Like £72 million on a guy with 9 goals in Serie A. Come on. Anyway, Ten Hag continued to say that injuries have killed us this season, have basically hampered the way we want to play. Hence, we've not been able to implement our style of play as planned. But if we're being honest, bruh, it's what Neville was saying earlier on. We need to have a style of play that, no matter who's injured or fit, it stays the same. The team must play the same way. Arsenal play the same way. Whether Martinelli's on the left wing or it's Trossard. Yes, both players might give them something different individually, but the team continues to play the same. That's what the question from Gary Neville was. But anyways, besides Ten Hag say that we want to play dynamic and proactive football with a high line, he went on to mention some nonsense. This guy had the goal to say that in 2024, we've scored more goals. We've played better football than we did in the first half of the season. We've only lost 3 games in 2024. I'm thinking, bro, we've only lost 3 games, but have you seen how rubbish we are? If I remember correctly, this season in the Premier League alone, Man United have played 34 Premier League games, and we've already scored, I think we scored something like, is it 52 goals? Let me see, let me check the stats. Yeah, in 34 Premier League games, Manchester United have scored 52 Premier League goals and conceded 51 goals, meaning that our goal difference is 1. And this guy wants to come out here and tell us that we've been playing well this season. Is Ten Hag okay? Anyways, Neville went on to ask Ten Hag, why have we had so many injuries this season? What's the cause? Especially in defense, because most of our centre-backs have been out all season, especially on the left side. We've had no fit left back all season. Our centre-backs, all 8 of them have been injured at some point in the season. But anyways, Ten Hag, Neville asked Ten Hag, what's the main reason why we have all these injuries? This fool went on to say, it's bad luck. Are you mad? With all the sports science available in 2024 and all the people Man United can hire, that's the best we can say. It's bad luck that we've had so many injuries this season. Come on, bro. If it means you have to come out and call out the medical team or the fitness team, then do so. But don't come out here and try and give us this BS about, oh no, it's because of bad luck. I mean, come on, bro. You gotta do better. There was another question which I liked so much from Gary Neville. He basically said that the likes of what's his name, Louis van Gaal, when he was at Ajax and at Barcelona, he played a very good, attractive football. Ten Hag also played very good football at Ajax. But Neville asked Ten Hag, why exactly can't you bring that style of play from Holland to Manchester United to the Premier League? Like, he was referring to a time where Ten Hag basically said that he can't play attractive football at Man United. Well, at least the type of football he played at Ajax. So Neville asked him, why can't you play that football here? This guy basically went on to say that we don't have the type of players that are required, like the likes of Frankie de Jong. We don't have those types of players in order for Man United to be able to play that beautiful football. But my thing here is, like I said earlier, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer told us there's a dossier. Our scouting department has a dossier with a list of players which they've been scouting for years. So surely amongst all those players, you could find a Frankie de Jong region. It doesn't have to be levels like de Jong, but you can find a young player who you feel he's got the profile and the capabilities to play like de Jong in the future. Or maybe even if you bring him now, he might not be able to play on de Jong's level right now, but you can tell in a few years he's going to develop into that type of player. But he instead goes and signs someone like Casemiro. Casemiro and de Jong are 2 completely different profiles. But he now says that, no, it would have worked if Man United had gotten both de Jong and Casemiro because they would complement each other. Now, I'm confused with this guy. What does he mean? Like what's going on? The types of players that we have are the type of players he approved. He approved us signing Anthony, that rubbish guy, 100 million euros, 88 million pounds. He approved us spending 50 million on Onana, 65 million pounds on Mason Mount. Casemiro, we spent 70. Rasmus Højlund, 70. All these guys were his guys that he wanted. Just because he didn't get Frankie de Jong is not good enough an excuse to say, no, I'm not going to play good football at Man United because I don't have Frankie de Jong. That's absolute rubbish. The guy is just not capable of playing good football, and he knows it. Another question which Neville asked Ten Hag was, has Ten Hag considered being defensive, a bit more defensive, given the fact that this season the team has been a lot more open, especially in terms of the wingers. He said, Neville said that he's noticed that the wingers don't track back and help cover the fullback, and also there's a disconnect between the winger and the fullback, as well as the defense in the midfield, which is basically left Casemiro in this big hole alone. It's left him isolated, and teams have been able to exploit us. And he then asked Ten Hag if he's considered playing a bit more defensive this season in order to help us, perform better. And Ten Hag basically came out with some nonsense and said that no, yes, he thought about playing a bit more defensive, but due to the many injuries that we've had so far this season, we haven't been able to try and implement a bit more defensive style of play, just to be able to manage without the injuries. And again, I'm thinking to myself, it goes back to what Neville said. Jason Wilcox has been brought for one reason and one reason only: to implement a style of play or playing model in which the club will inherit or adopt and play with going forward. Because what we're seeing with the likes of Ten Hag is just not good enough. And also his explanation of we don't have enough players it's just nonsense, man. Many teams have been hit with injuries this season. Newcastle have been hit with injuries. Tottenham were hit with injuries at some point. Liverpool were hit with injuries. Chelsea were hit. So many big clubs were hit with injuries this season, but they still play the same type of football. The other question which Neville asked was, given the way in which our season has gone so far, are we only 4 Premier League games left in the FA Cup final to focus on? Is it? Neville asked Ten Hag, is our main focus now, or our only focus the FA Cup final, seeing as the Premier League isn't going so well for us? We're not challenging for the Premier League, we're not in the top 4, and we're basically fighting for top 6. And what Ten Hag said was, no, basically still fighting to maintain our position, basically saying we're fighting to stay in the top 6, and then we also want to win the FA Cup, which, to be fair, I thought was the right answer. I mean, I can't really bash him for that. But the last question was from Neville was, what message do you have for Manchester United fans, and why should they believe that basically you're the right man to get us to challenging for the Premier League title and Champions League in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? And what Ten Hag basically said was, he feels like he's now repeating himself, but we've had too many injuries this season. But he's quite sure that once our players return from injury and the summer comes and we strengthen the squad, we buy more players that are more suited to the team, we're then going to start challenging for titles. Bro, you spent £400 million. You can't be telling me you want... Yes, of course, we know you need more players. We know that. Most of them are not good enough, the ones we have. But let's not get it twisted. Half of the players that are here are not good enough are the players that you signed. £400 million. And yet you want more players. I'm sorry, Ten Hag. For me, you need to go. And I wouldn't trust him to give him with another penny. I wouldn't. I'd sack him, get a new manager who's going to bring in his own players. But like I said, the style of play should be based on the team, not on the manager. You see? But anyways, those are my thoughts and my reaction basically to the interview which I saw going viral earlier on during the day on Twitter. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Do you disagree with anything that I said? If you do, let me know in the comments. But besides that, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel as well, and I will see you soon.